Hey guys, Youngblood with you for a Should You Buy video on the new mining ship to hit concept phase, this time produced by RSI, called the Arrastra. Now, if you don't know what the name is based on, that's understandable because it is very old, but if you think about 1800s Earth, there was a kind of primitive designed mill that was really designed for grinding and pulverizing material to reveal the hidden ore that was in larger rocks. So simply put, the Arrastra in Star Citizen is calling back to Earth-based technology and renewing the terminology in new technology. The RSI Arrastra is going to cost you more than an 1800s mill, though, as it's on sale now for $525 war bond, meaning all new money into the game, or $575 if you choose to go the traditional route by purchasing with credits that you get from melting other ships. But the nice perk here is being that with IAE going on right now, you receive the 10-year insurance benefit on the ship instead of the normal 6-month, which I'll always repeat is basically as good as LTI, which in my impression is a overblown benefit. Anyways, the Arrastra is intended to be a deep space mining rig that is mostly self-sufficient. The idea being that with ships like the Prospector and the Mole, you can mine and you can store the raw material, but then you either need to leave and take the goods yourself to a station refinery, or maybe you hire an expanse or have a friend with a mobile refinery. You could dislodge those bags and let them take them for you to a refining station. And once those refining processes are done, you then need a ship to take them to a planet to sell. So you have a lot of steps in the process that are involving multiple ships, whether all your own or involving other friends. The Arrastra, which is pretty clearly filling the role between the Mole and the Orion, is providing you with the ability to mine, refine, and carry the output to the sale location, basically with a value proposition of being a self-contained mining platform and solution. It has space for a crew of 5. It offers 3 independent mining turrets, which are described as being rail-mounted, likely meaning they can cover a great deal of ground and give the operator that is using them from the cockpit on a remote turret a lot of range to choose the targets that they engage with, which is going to limit the pilot's responsibility for having to position your turret operators. It also would, in theory, mean that you can divide and conquer when you're around smaller rocks, or the turrets again can align in front to really maximize the output of power to crack the larger rocks that you may face, which are honestly the rocks that we don't really have in the game yet. That would really be needed to enable ships like the Arrastra and the Orion to have a place where, saying like the Mole is currently sufficient for basically all jobs in the universe right now, you need to enable the gameplay. The Arrastra has an onboard refinery that's capable of taking the material that you mine and turn it into a sellable material, which bypasses the need to go to a station refinery or engage a ship like the Expanse to do that job. The value prop of this ship is based on a few things, but I would say that the onboard refinery offers the ability to not need to leave a valuable ore field to get to a refinery when you're full, plus not spending time in travel and not needing to spend money in processing fees at a station. In addition to that, the ship has a ramp and ground vehicle bay that is said to have room for 2 ground vehicles, which I would assume would be 2 standard rocks, but could potentially be, big enough for the larger rock DSs. But at this point, we don't really know for sure, so we'll mark that as one of our unknown answers at this point. On the Arrastra, you have 3 mining turrets, which are all remotely operated, which is a nice change of pace from the very exposed turrets that you have on the Mole. You have 1 on the top center of the ship and 2 on the very front of the ship. These turrets are said to be size 3, which is a size up from the Mole, which would already indicate that they are going to be more capable independently than the ones on the Mole, so the power output should match and mean that every turret has more braking ability and likely control than a Mole turret would, which is pushing the power at the top end of its ability. So ease of use is likely improved as well. The sales page states that the Arrastra carries up to 512 SEU of refined material externally, which basically makes the ship about caterpillar-sized in cargo ability. The way that I read that, and we'll need more information, is that you can extract ore from rocks, process it, and store it in ore bags on the exterior of the ship. And that's a big question for me, because today in the Prospector or Mole, you can extract and store in the bags. And once you're full, you can go sell or in theory eject the bags for other players to take that job for you. On this ship, though, if the statement of refined goods is actual, then that means that you are mining ore and it either has a storage area of material or you have to have someone managing the processors constantly. And if that's the case, what happens when jobs take longer? And does that mean that your operations are halting because you're waiting on room in the refinery? We don't know that yet, which makes me question the whole statement of refined goods at 512 SEU. We know that there is an internal traditional cargo space of 64 SEU on this ship, so is that where the refined ore and goods go, or is that used for replacement parts and general cargo purposes? I think there's more to this design than we understand at this point, and hopefully the Q&A will provide clarity, but for now it's questionable at best. If you really have 512 SEU of refined material capabilities externally slung, that is a lot of money possibility, meaning that the output of this ship is really encouraging. Though having valuable assets hanging off the side of your ship also mirrors concerns with the hull designs from like the hull A through E, where you become kind of a piñata, where maybe blasting off assets becomes a significant concern. So we'll hold opinions there and wait, but what else was stated is that there's a tractor beam on the rear of the ship, but the purpose wasn't clearly defined. I'm hoping that this is there to either help pull rocks into an optimal position, or more preferable would be that if you can use the tractor beam to bring bags from prospectors and moles into this ship to refine with the onboard facilities, giving you another source of revenue from other players. As far as the defensive capabilities are concerned, I'm having a hard time understanding what the information provided actually means. The brochure states that there are, and I quote, 3 by size 3 remote turret, 4 by size 3. What the hell does that mean? Looking at the images they provided, though, it looks like you have 2 guns per turret, with a turret on the starboard, a turret on the port, and a turret on the top aft of the ship. So unless I'm missing something, the ship has a total of 6 guns on remote turrets, probably meaning that you have 6 total size 3 guns. I'd also look at the placements, and unless there's a 4th turret on the belly of that ship, that's going to be your weak point. Looking at the overall design of the ship, it's pretty sexy. It looks like a combat ship had a baby with an industrial ship, and you have the best of both worlds. It's sleek and it's purpose-built with a bridge that appears to have good visibility while being protected. On that bridge, you appear to have 4 seats, which would indicate or would include 2 pilot-oriented seats and 2 more mining or operations-focused seats, which seems to be missing some jobs. So I assume that you will have operator seats in other places of the ship as well, probably back closer towards the onboard refinery. If we compare the Arrastra to other mining ships, we have the Prospector, Mole, Orion, and Expanse. And because these all have ties to mining in one way or another. Considering the Prospector is entry level and the Expanse is only doing refining, it really only leaves the Mole and the Orion to compare against. The $315 Mole also doesn't do refining, so you're really left to compare this against the $650 Orion, which recently went up in price, but with the Arrastra coming, the Orion is going to skyrocket. So regardless of whether you decide to buy an Arrastra or not, if an Orion is on your shopping list, I would be picking up the best CCU you can right now and sitting on it, because that price is going to go through the roof. Simply put, let's rapid fire some comparisons between the Arrastra and the Orion. The Orion cannot land on planets, as it's intended to almost be a mobile space platform. So the Arrastra has more flexibility by being able to land on planets, doing planetary mining, and delivering your refined goods to the city locations where you're going to be selling your mineable ore anyways. I would also say that this empowers you to be able to land on planets and deploy your ground vehicles to conduct a variety of different type of mining operations. The cost of operation should be lower on the Arrastra, being a smaller ship with less crew requirements, but the amount of money that you can earn is limited, so I think it's going to be kind of a wash. And the real reason that the earning potential on the Arrastra is less than the Orion is because of the scale of operations. The Orion is better thought of as a corporate-level strip mining monster. It's probably going to just go into an asteroid field and just plow through, processing whatever it wants and spitting out the useless stuff and not thinking twice based on the scale. The Arrastra is going to need to be a little more focused on identifying the good stuff, though it can be a lot less focused than the players that they're using things like a prospector or a mole, where every SCU is a significant impact. I also think that the refineries on board the Orion will be operating at a different capacity than we'll see on the Arrastra. My assumption is that the Arrastra is more of a mobile mining refinery for yourself and maybe a group of players, while the Orion can really replace a station refinery while being mobile or potentially serving a large organization independently. I would expect that the Arrastra is much better for a smaller group playing with less jobs and hands needed. When looking at the Orion versus the Arrastra, here's my actual recommendation. If you're already going to be spending $575, then adding $75 to get the Orion isn't that much of a stretch, though admittedly it's still a heck of a lot of money. The reasoning here is that the Arrastra will be out before the Orion. I'm almost certain of that. And the price on the Orion will, not might, but will increase dramatically. If you own an Orion and the Arrastra comes out, then you will get the Arrastra as a loaner, and you'll get to play with it. And if you end up liking that better after the Orion is out, you could easily drop down and purchase the smaller ship. But if you start in an Arrastra and then the Orion comes out and you decide you want the Orion, that price jump will be much, much higher in the future. So I have some questions lingering that I need to have answered in the Q&A because they are unknown and do impact to some degree how valuable or great this ship may be. First and foremost, will you have to wait for your refineries to clear jobs before you can collect more materials? I've already spoken to that, but it's a big concern if your operations screech to a halt. I wonder if you're going to be able to take on jobs from other ships, which I think the tractor beam speaks to that ability, but it hasn't been outright confirmed yet. I'd question if any of the mining turrets are pilot controlled, which I highly doubt to be a thing, especially with the dedicated seats on the bridge. And if the mole at a smaller level doesn't enable this, then I kind of figure there's no way on this scale that the Arrastra will do it. I also wonder if the ship can stabilize mined Quantanium, because currently it takes storing a ship at a refinery to make that happen. But if you are the refinery, how do you make sure that the Quantanium doesn't go boom in your ship while you're waiting for it to be processed? Those are the ones that I think I want more information on. Now, as far as the should you buy the Arrastra, I would say it like this. If mining is your passion and you know you want to do this long term, and if you have friends who will help or like to help, then sure, it's a pretty great ship, though with a pretty high price tag. I always appreciate mining as a job because you can start with very little investment and walk away with money, unlike commodity trading where you have to buy the goods up front and you're playing the buy and sell game. So the only investment in mining is the time that is made in trying to find what you want to mine and the time you spend trying to mine that. And I guess fuel, right? I guess another unanswered question, though, is how well can an NPC operator really leverage the laser turrets to really let you know how much you'll be able to trust them in the future, and if hiring them is viable, or if you really need 3 to 4 real people to help you utilize this ship. Where I stand right now is that the Arrastra isn't right for the majority of players, because it's pretty focused in its role, and there's a lot of money tied up in it. However, if mining is really your thing, based on the prices that are in the store today, I would opt for the Orion and make my decision later, while locking in an asset that will probably triple in price soon. For 95% of you that enjoy mining but do other things in the game as well, the Arrastra is probably just too expensive to dedicate into your fleet, and you'd be much better suited utilizing a mole or having a prospector and finding somebody else with a prospector to partner up and give that rock the little extra oomph you need when you need it. Overall, I think the Arrastra is a very cool ship. I think there's lots of good mining potential and probably a really good moneymaker. But overall, that's the Arrastra and my overall recommendation. So if you have questions on any of this, please let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned for a lot more coming soon. Have yourselves a wonderful day and take care.